Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Happy Victory Monday to all of the Pewter people and Bucs fans. It is our first Victory Monday of the season, and hopefully, and what I think will be, first of many Victory Monday. So we're going to talk a little more about the Bucs win over the Commanders and also give some injury updates after speaking to Todd Bowles today. And of course, we'll get to plenty of things that the Pewter people have to say, whether you're a YouTube channel member or if you super chat us. So a lot to get to on today's show. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com, SR Scott Reynolds. And Scott, let me be the first to wish you a happy Victory Monday.
Thank you so much, Matt. I love it. We predicted the Buccaneers were going to win 10 games this year. You and I, and Bailey, and Sly, who was known as Adam, and Josh Capo. So we should have at least 9 more of these on deck for this year. That'll be fun. Maybe, just maybe, we'll have one again next Monday. But it's going to be a tall task because Tampa Bay heads into Detroit banged up, especially on the defensive side. And we'll get more into that Lions-Bucs preview on Wednesday. But today's show, we're going to focus on the current state of the Buccaneers, which is good vibes and with the 1-0 start, but also a little bit of angst and crossed fingers because this Bucs defense, especially a defensive tackle and also at cornerback, banged up and possibly even safety too. Let's talk about that today. You were at One Buccaneer Place today for Todd Bowles' press conference. And the news wasn't exactly rosy about Antoine Winfield Jr.'s injured foot or ankle.
No, not exactly. And we spoke about this on the Pewter post-game show yesterday. Scott, you actually brought it up as you were in Raymond James Stadium, where we do a lot of the post-game podcasts when the Bucs have a home game. And yeah, Todd Bowles did confirm that Antoine Winfield Jr. was in a walking boot after the Bucs game. It was on his right foot, his right leg overall. And Bowles told us that the injury actually occurred about the second to last play on defense that Antoine Winfield was in the game. And he played 100% of the snaps. He was able to get through it. But also what Bowles told us is that Antoine Winfield is on the Bucs onside kick team, the return team, I guess in this case, or the team trying to recover it. But he did not go out for the hands team, as they say, which, by the way, why is Keefe on the hands team? Maybe he was the one that replaced Antoine Winfield Jr. I don't know about that one. But anyway, Winfield is on the hands team. He did not go out for the onside kick late in the game. So it happened late, which is very unfortunate considering the Bucs had the game in hand at that point. I understand that everybody has to play. I'm not knocking Todd Bowles for having Antoine Winfield Jr. in there. But just given all the injuries that the Bucs suffered in yesterday's game, they almost came out unscathed with Antoine Winfield Jr., but Bowles also said, we'll see how the rest of the week goes. So it very much sounds like we're probably not going to get an answer with Antoine Winfield Jr. until Friday, and if we see him participate in Friday's practice. But, I mean, that is as big of a blow as it gets for the Buccaneers defense when, in my opinion, their best player may be out against a team that the Bucs already struggle against defensively when they do have all of their best players. So definitely something we'll be monitoring heavily during the rest of the week.
You're exactly right. And of course, the cornerback position is kind of the topic du jour, right? Because all of a sudden Tampa Bay went from 4 active corners on Sunday down to just 1. And that was Jamel Dean, who's usually oft injured, but he made it through the game unscathed.
No finger.
Miraculously. Good for you, Jamel. That was awesome to see. Pun, intended here. We're looking for Jamel to start all 17 games plus the playoffs. He needs to have a big year and thought he played pretty well on Sunday. Haven't watched the whole game yet, but the news not so good for Bryce Hall, as we reported last night on the Pewter Report podcast and on pewterreport.com. And Greg Allman was first on the scene with the actual diagnosis, which was a dislocated ankle and a fractured fibula. I have not heard anything to dispute that. I think that's exactly what has happened here. And unfortunately, it's going to mean a season-ending injury for Bryce Hall. So when you look at Tampa Bay and the options there, I know that the The consensus out there is to go with the big name, the Xavier Howard, maybe Eli Apple because he's a name guy. People know him. J.C. Jackson. Some of these players that are out there. That's not necessarily Todd Bowles and Jason Light's MO, though. If you go back to 2021, this team had some injuries at the cornerback position as well. Todd Bowles even referenced that. And the thing is they signed Richard Sherman, and that was kind of at the behest of Tom Brady, who wanted Richard Sherman to come. He was a big name player, fit scheme wise with his size and Todd Bowles' defense. It made some sense, and they made that move. Future Hall of Fame player, but he got hurt because he's an older player. And Pierre Desser was actually a guy that came in and had 2 interceptions and was the more unheralded guy that they signed. And even D. Delaney, both of those 2 players played better than Richard Sherman did. So don't be surprised if Tampa Bay kind of forgoes some of the name guys. And listen, the name guys always aren't the right guys. Keenan Isaac, for example, who you might think is on the Carolina Panthers. Well, he was actually waived on Saturday. So now he comes back into the equation. The Buccaneers.
I thought about that too.
Yeah, the Buccaneers may or may not have put him on the practice squad. There's a reason why they cut him. And if you're a Pewter insider, because we've told you that the team's not exactly in love with his level of toughness and his tackling ability. Is he a good cover corner? Yeah. And maybe right now, because he knows this Todd Bowles defense, he's been to 2 training camps now. He was in the practice squad all of last year, had this interception against the Bengals in the preseason. Maybe out of desperation, he becomes more of an option. A couple other players that Tampa Bay cut from their training camp cut downs. Andrew Hayes, who got torched in that Bengals game late in the game, and Chris McDonald. Those are 2 other players. They're not ideal guys to come in and start, but if you need some emergency corners, and Tyreek Funderburk is going to play, he might even start if Zion McCollum or Josh Hayes can't go. You're looking for guys that know the system and can play right away. And I think that Tampa Bay is more likely to go with an Isaac, a Hayes, or McDonald because they were in camp in the preseason. They know the scheme. The coaches have some familiarity with them rather than bringing some guy off the street and giving them a crash course to go out there and cover Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jamison Williams.
Yeah, I mean, and especially watching that Lions-Rams game last night, seeing Jamison Williams pop off. But yeah, to get back to the topic, there are a couple of positions where, if you sign a guy off the street or one of the rare in-season trades, you can kind of throw him into a game and be okay to a degree. We saw that with Ben Steele at defensive tackle. Defensive back is not one of those situations because if you don't know the playbook and you don't know the communication that's going on, that means the receiver's wide open down the field, and that's an instant touchdown. So the Bucs cannot afford that. It makes total sense if they would kind of go back to the with a lot of the guys that you mentioned because they already know the system to a degree and the calls,
You're exactly
and the
right,
and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's very funny.
Let me stop you right there. Hold that thought because you just made a fantastic point that I want to put an exclamation point on. The defensive tackle. Well, I'm just saying the defensive tackle position is one thing. Right, it's gap assignment. You miss your gap, you get blown out of your gap. You've got help at the second and third level with linebackers and safeties, right? So that's one thing.
Yeah.
But to your point, if you're a cornerback and you don't get the adjustment, you don't get that audible from Antoine Winfield Jr. if he's playing, or from Jordan Whitehead, it's a blown coverage and it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
You're leaving guys wide open. There is no safety net back there in the secondary. So fantastic point by you. One thing to take a guy off the street and say, go play 6 plays and plug a gap for us. It's another thing to go say, go cover one of the Lions' premier outside receivers and good luck.
Yeah, well, thank you for the kind words. And it's true. Like if they were going to get an edge rusher, which the Bucs don't need right now, they have plenty. But an edge rusher, you could say, hey, we're going to put you on 3rd down. It's going to be 3rd and 10. Get after the quarterback. But yeah, you can't do that with defensive back. And it was very funny. We'll get to these super chats in just a moment. Just a couple of things again, real quick. You brought up Richard Sherman a couple of years ago. We were actually talking about that in the Bucs media room after we spoke with Todd Bowles. It was myself and Adam Slavon of Pewter Report and Greg Allman and Rick Stroud. We were talking about, that time when they brought Richard Sherman in, because at the time, they were getting ready for Bucs Patriots, which is a huge game. Tom Brady going back to New England. And Bowles was asked about, like, would Richard Sherman play in this game? He said it would be foolish if he played a lot of snaps in that game. Well, he ended up playing the whole game because of injuries and stuff.
Right.
And he had a fumble recovery in that game.
Yep.
But yes, he got hurt shortly after and was out for the rest of the year. Now the Bucs are kind of experiencing it again a little bit now. And there's that trickle-down effect because of the Winfield injury and all of the corners, because Isian, who could be an emergency corner this situation this week, if Winfield doesn't play, Isian has to go back to safety and, and play a backup safety. And, they do have Tyke Smith as well, but Tyke Smith played all training camp in the slot. Do you really want to kind of mess with the rookie, giving him a new position already?
That's right.
I don't necessarily think so. So there's a big trickle-down effect with not just the cornerback injuries, but Antoine Winfield Jr. as well. Let's get to some of these super chats. Thank you to Michelle C. for this $10 super chat. Gave it to us before the show started.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that. As Michelle says, can't be here for the live show, so decided I'd go ahead and do a super chat and watch for my answer later. LOL.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I hope you're smiling when you listen to this.
Yeah.
Whenever you get to. Do you still feel like we will not be keeping Chris Godwin? And you follow that up with Happy Victory Monday. Happy Victory Monday to you as well, Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin certainly stated his case for sticking around, right? 8 catches on 8 targets, led the Bucs in terms of receiving, had 1 touchdown, which is great because he only had 2 last year, so he's halfway there to matching last year's total. Listen, this team would love to be in the same situation that it was last year when Mike Evans was kind of forced to play in that contract year. Show us you can still play. Show us you can be a point producer. Show us you still got it. Show us that you're still in your prime, not entering your twilight. 30-year-old Mike Evans did that and got rewarded with a 2-year, $41 million contract. So far, so good for Chris Godwin. He's making $20 million per year right now in the final year of his deal. The cap hit, of course, is more than that because they've kind of restructured the salary. But I believe that this team wants to keep Chris Godwin. He is a fundamental part of this franchise. They love having Jalen McMillan. Can Jalen McMillan ultimately replace Chris Godwin? Yes, I think so, because he operated in the slot and also outside at the University of Washington. He's got some of that kind of prerequisite toughness that he could do some of the dirty work in the slot for Chris Godwin eventually. But does that mean that this team is ready to move on from Chris Godwin? No, I think he can still play for a couple more years. Let's see how this season plays out. Let's see if he can stay healthy. Let's see if he can put those touchdowns on the board. But so far, so good for Chris Godwin. Having 3 receivers makes this Buccaneer team even more dangerous. It makes the point production go up. It makes Baker Mayfield happy. You want to keep your $100 million quarterback happy. Yes. So, yeah, I think that there's an opportunity here where you can keep Chris Godwin and still have Mike Evans. At some point in time, Mike Evans is not going to play, and you'd almost rather have Chris Godwin hanging around for another year or two.
Age-wise, yeah.
Age-wise, and then still have Jalen McMillan and then maybe the other receiver that you're going to draft next year or whatever, continue to stockpile that receiver room. So, again, so far so good for Chris Godwin. He's off to a good start.
We've seen in the past with the Bucs front office, there is a proven track record that they reward players that have played substantially well. We can go down the list of even Mike last season and Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr. So there is a track record of rewarding everybody for maybe even exceeding expectations. So Chris Godwin, I think to a degree, will have to have a great season to essentially force the Bucs to re-sign him, in the sense of, like, they got such a good thing going. They don't want to start over with McMillan as wide receiver 2 and then figuring out the rest of the room. We've seen the Bucs move all these pieces together to put a puzzle together and re-sign everybody. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they'll find a way to do it with Chris Godwin if he continues to produce. And he's off to a great start. And if they get anything like the vintage Chris Godwin when he was playing in the slot, 37, I'm not saying it's going to happen every single week, but 30 points sure feels like a attainable goal. So great for Chris Godwin for, starting out with a great first week 1. Thanks to Todd G for this $4.99 super chat, who says, "Hey, Scott, please tell me to calm down. I'm moderately terrified for the Lions game with our secondary decimated yet again."
I mean, Listen, the Buccaneers went into Detroit last year fresh off a momentum-building win over the Philadelphia Eagles. And they were pretty healthy. They were exceptionally healthy last year, and they still lost to the better Lions team. Who knows what Sunday's going to hold? If the Buccaneers have a chance of winning, they're going to have more pressure on Jared Goff than they've had the last couple of years, or I should say the last couple of games, because they played him twice last year. And even last couple of years, because when he was with the Rams, they just didn't get enough pressure on him. They didn't pick him off. They didn't make him feel uncomfortable in the pocket and really kind of mess up his rhythm. So they've got to do a better job up front if the secondary is weak. The other thing they got to do is you got to score points. They're going to have to get 30 plus points on the board. They're going to have to win a shootout style game if they're going to be decimated in the secondary and give up points. And it's not just the secondary that has to worry about Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Ben Laporta can get you in the middle of the defense down the seam. They've got two pass catching backs and David Montgomery and Jamar Gibbs. And both of those guys can also hurt you on the ground. So this is a fully dimensional Lions team that can beat you a lot of different ways. If you watched the end of that game last night, David Montgomery, that offensive line just took over and just ran roughshod through that gassed Rams defense in overtime. And so they can beat you a lot of different ways. Having said that, the only way the Buccaneers, I think, have a chance of winning because they're so banged up. Now, listen, if they had Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean and Antoine Winfield Jr. all feeling good, I'd like Tampa Bay's chances in this game. But injuries do play a role. There's no doubt about it. Not saying the Bucs don't have a puncher's chance. They do. But it might have to be the knockout blow from the likes of Baker and Mike and Chris and Jalen again for them to have a real chance of winning in week 2. Detroit's just a good team, and it's on the road.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they are stacked everywhere you look on offense. And like Jameson Williams was a guy that struggled last year. Obviously, they had Reynolds, who was like essentially their wide receiver too. He's not there anymore, but he's the guy that took the big shots down the field. What I will say for a positive notion for the Bucs is I think a lot of that pressure they got against Washington, and granted it's a different team. Yeah. Jaden Daniels was able to scramble and get out of it. Jared Goff will not be able to. And you saw in that game last night that the Rams actually had some solid pressure on the Lions. Now, they were able to run the ball at the end of the game. But I think if Yaya and some of the other guys can find a way to get that pressure. And also, I think the Bucs, and we'll talk a bit more about this the rest of the week, the way that the Bucs were so high flying against the Commanders, yes, they have to score every time they have the ball, but that doesn't mean they have to score so quickly every single time. I think this could look like a completely different offensive approach in the sense of, the defense is a little, kind of playing with their hand tied behind their back a little bit. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with scoring on every single possession or most of the possessions, but taking your sweet, sweet time to do so.
Play some keep away.
The ball away. Yeah, play some keep away. That may be the way to do it. So I think the offensive approach may look very different in week 2, but can still end up with the results that you want to see.
I'm with you. It's 4:20. We know what you want to see, folks.
Yes. It's time for roll call. We want to know, where are you at, Pewter people? We have awesome fans, not just in Tampa, but really around the world. It seems like every week we get some international fans as well. We love interacting with all of you as much as we possibly can. So one way we do that is with roll call that happens at 4:20 on the first episode each week. Sometimes it's on a Tuesday, but most of the time it's on a Monday. And really what we do is one of us will go on a thought process that we have with the Buccaneers. And while we're doing that, in the meantime, if you want to put in the chat where you are watching the show from, we will put each one on the screen and give a couple of personal shout outs as well, as we see Nathan Elliott starting with Bradenton, Florida. So, Scott, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to chat some Bucs and I could put the names on the screen or vice versa. You let me know.
Got a rant ready to go.
All right. Without further ado, have at it.
All right. So Jaden Daniels scrambled for 88 yards and a pair of touchdowns. And that didn't hurt the Buccaneers because keep in mind, that last touchdown, the final score was 37-20. But before that last touchdown, with just over a minute left, it was 37-13. So Tampa Bay's defense did a pretty good job on Jaden Daniels. And as Servassier Dennis told me after the game, yeah, you'd like to see him being contained more in the pocket and not have those escape runs that he did. But we didn't let his arm beat us. And that's the job of any pass rusher, whether you're a blitzing linebacker, whether you're in coverage, whether you are a defensive lineman getting after the quarterback. You don't want the quarterback to feel comfortable in the pocket and beat you with his arm, because that's the job of any quarterback. I don't care if you're Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels or Jared Goff or Tom Brady, who's a pocket passer. Don't let the quarterback beat you with his arm. And that's what happened yesterday. They didn't let Jaden Daniels beat him with his arm. They didn't let Terry McLaurin go wild on this secondary, even though there were injuries, even though that secondary got depleted pretty quickly in the second half after Zy McCollum went out and Bryce Hall went out and Josh Hayes was unavailable. And they're down to Christian Izien and just Tyke Smith in the nickel and Jamel Dean on the other side. They didn't let the Washington passing game affect them. And you see Yaya Diaby there, and he didn't have any stats on the stat sheet. Sub-zero was zeroed out on the stat sheet, but he did have 4 pressures, and he was making his impact felt. I don't have any problem with Yaya Diaby missing a pair of sacks on Jaden Daniels, because there's only about 4 players in the league that Yaya Diaby, with his 4.51 speed, is going to miss sacks on. And those guys' first names are Jaden, Pat, maybe Kyler, and Lamar, right? Those are the guys. You know who they are. You know, maybe Caleb Williams. We'll see. I'm not as high on Caleb Williams as some people are, but we'll see. But in other words, and Matt said this earlier, and it rings true. That amount of pressure that was put on Jaden Daniels yesterday was enough to get Jared Goff on the ground. It was enough to get Kirk Cousins on the ground. The pocket passers that Tampa Bay is going to face, Derek Carr, even a guy like Bryce Young in Carolina, who's not as mobile as some of those guys that we mentioned. Those are the guys that was enough pressure to affect and to create more sacks than just the 2 that they had. But I was really impressed with the play of Servassier Dennis, too. He was the guy that got his first sack against Jaden Daniels. And I thought Servassier really played a good game. When you look at his blitz, where he and Levante David came free, as well as Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, that was a max protect situation where the Commanders had both tight ends in and they released their back late. So it was basically a 2-man route. They had 7 offensive players blocking the Bucs 5-man pressure. Yaya Diaby zone dropped on that play, and the Bucs rushed 5, including both linebackers, Levante David and Servassier Dennis. Dennis got the sack. Todd Bowles is creative enough, even when he's down a guy like a Kalijah Kancey up front, where he's going to create some pressure and even bring down guys like Jaden Daniels. So I'm excited to see what he has in store for Jared Goff, because he's had all offseason to game plan for the guy that beat him twice last year and didn't get enough pressure. We'll see if Kalijah Kancey ends up playing, or if this calf injury is going to turn into a repeat from last year, where it's going to sideline him for a little bit more time than the Bucs or Kancey want it to. It is the same calf. That's a little troublesome. But what I do know is when Kalijah Kancey plays Jared Goff, he gets sacks. He got one in his first game back last year in that creamsicle game in week 6, and he got one in the playoffs against the Lions up in Detroit. And if he doesn't get a sack, I'm going to pencil Yaya Diaby in, because this guy is coming this year, and he's bringing hell with him. He is going to have a big year, even though he missed Jaden Daniels twice, as Yaya told me after the game last night. This guy has unreal speed. It's at a different level. But Jared Goff, not so fast.
Yeah, if Yaya gets in the backfield against Jared Goff, he will be taking Jared Goff down. You hope Kalijah Kancey is available. Todd Bowles was very vague about Logan Hall and Kalijah Kancey, the defensive tackles, who we knew weren't going to be playing in the game.
Right.
Bowles said, we'll see. That tends to be his response when it comes to injured players
Yeah.
if they can return. But yeah, I do think that if you obviously want all your players healthy all the time, but the Bucs are better suited to overcome injuries to their defensive side of the football than they are on the offensive side of the football, partially because Bowles is a defensive guy. Yeah. And Bowles has had plenty of time. Now, he said he didn't watch the Lions game last night because Bowles likes to go to bed decently early and get an early start to
Those cookies
the morning.
and milk will put you to sleep, Matt.
Yeah. However, if Bowles wanted to stay up late, the Bucs have some primetime games this year. I think the best way for him to stay up would be by having a Celsius energy drink, which, of course, is the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. Check out their new flavors, the sparkling watermelon lemonade and the sparkling kiwi strawberries. Tons of great flavors. So if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, head on over to the store locator on the Celsius website. Punch in your address and it'll tell you the closest location where you can pick one up. Could be a Walmart, a Stop and Shop, a Publix, or it could be your bodega.
Bodega.
And once you try out Celsius and you know you love it and you want to get more, you can buy it in bulk. I'd recommend purchasing the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. There's so many great flavors of Celsius. You can buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save and have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com.
It's good stuff. Today was one of those days. Last night was one of those nights where I've already had 2 Celsius today. I had the new cherry cola flavor this afternoon, which means I'm not going to bed tonight until probably midnight. That's all right. Monday Night Football is on. See if Aaron Rodgers can make it through a quarter up there in New York. I hope so.
Yeah, I think he will.
I like A-Rod. I'm a fan. I also like the old guys too. I want to see him come back and have a good year. And they're playing the 49ers, who it's on the Bucs schedule. So a lot of the Buccaneers opponents are on prime time. We've already seen the Eagles play. They beat the Packers on Friday night. We saw the Ravens and the Chiefs start the season off. The Bucs will play both of those teams. And Tampa Bay also plays the 49ers. Yeah, and the Lions last night too. Yeah, so a lot of Bucs opponents in prime time already. We'll see the 49ers in action tonight against the Jets. Jets, 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 Jets.
That's right. Yeah,
smile out of your face, Matera.
Little bit.
Yep.
Bucs fans should be rooting for the Jets in that one. Should be a fun game as well. I don't know what to make of San Fran with all of the contract disputes that they've had this year. Will those guys be ready? But we could talk about that another time. I think what we should talk about, Scott, is giving a shout out to our Pewter Report YouTube channel members.
I think we should. Yes, we've had quite a few signups lately, and before you get to the people who participated in roll call, let's give a shout out to all of our new Pewter Report TV channel members: Greg Francis, Ben Vecti, Noah Parr, Space Windu, Sensi Kid, Rich Suggs, Michael, Up and Down, M, and Meets McGee. That's a lot of people that joined since last Thursday's show. So you can see the popularity of becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member. Greatly appreciate that. And as always, we want to thank our Pewter Platinum members, Guru, Scott Federico, Scotty J, Rachel Gordon, and Noah Parr. Thank you so much. You guys get recognized every show because we love you guys, and you guys are those Pewter Platinum members. And for our Pewter Premier members, there's a lot of them. We're going to let this ticker roll as we continue to talk about the Buccaneers because it'll take up half the show to name every single one of you. But we appreciate your support so much. You guys deserve the recognition, and hopefully we're delivering the content you guys want to see.
Yeah, and please let us know if you have any requests as well, things you want to see, topics you want us to discuss. We're very happy to do so and accommodate in the best way that we can. Got a couple more super chats to get to, so thank you everybody that has been super chatting us. Lucas Patisse with this $1.99 super chat who says, I hope Tyreek Funderburk is ready. LOL. Well, he will be ready. He was a game day inactive last week, and Todd Bowles actually spoke about Funderburk a little bit, saying he just wanted to give him a little bit more of time. Well, time's running out for Tyreek Funderburk. He's gonna be active come hell or high water because the Bucs don't have many options. And like you said earlier, Scott, he could end up starting on Sunday against the Lions, which we were very impressed with him in going all the way back to OTAs,
right.
and
OTAs, yeah,
things of that
exactly.
nature. So what a great story it would be if he, plays well on Sunday, if he does have to start and really rises up the ranks as an undrafted free agent. It's going to be a huge opportunity for Tyreek Thunderberg.
It really is. Todd Bowles is not afraid of playing young players. He's not afraid of playing rookies. He's even not afraid of playing undrafted free agent rookies. And that's what Tyreek Thunderberg is. Didn't play in the preseason at all. Missed the preseason with the foot injury. He didn't play in Cincinnati, did he? I think he's been out all 3 preseason games.
Yeah, because he got hurt.
Prior to the Cincy
he
game,
may have played in Cincinnati because he was in a walking boot for like when we were in Jacksonville.
That's right. Yeah. Well, still, he didn't play much in the preseason if he did at all. Yeah. But doesn't matter. Like you said, he might end up starting on Sunday, depending on how the Bucs cornerback situation shakes out. And that's okay. Todd Bowles is going to get you ready. He is not afraid of playing young guys. If you have the talent to play, he and Kevin Ross will coach you up and stick you out there and see what you can do. So I think the more important thing is, will Antoine Winfield Jr. be on the field with him? That would make Tyreek Thunderberg's debut in the NFL a lot more comfortable. If you have Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr. back there helping you out, directing traffic and making sure that you're on the same page. A little bit of a different story if it's Christian Nizian in there instead of Winfield. So, but again, we'll know later about Winfield's status probably later in the week.
Yeah, just way more security with Winfield and Whitehead back there, guiding along a rookie undrafted free agent that would be making his first career game and his first career start. So
that's right.
We'll pay attention to that one for sure. Thanks to David Van Dunn for this $1.99 super chat, who says, how come you never go to the games, Matt? Well, part of that is because I am hosting the Pewter Game Day show, which we had a great turnout.
We did.
In yesterday's game. Myself and Josh Capo co-hosting, had a fantastic time, and I've kind of spearheaded this over the last 2 years. I've gone to plenty of games. I went to every single one in the 2021 season, except for I missed the Eagles game because I had COVID at the time. But I went to all the other games, including that Bucs-Rams game. So I went to plenty there. I went to
the Eagles game
some before that. I went to the Eagles game last year. And we may mix it up. I like hosting here. I like going to the games too. So we'll mix it up a little bit. But, with me hosting the Pewter Game Day show, that's where you'll see me a lot of the time. And it's a lot of fun. And hopefully you can join us, David, for the next Pewter Game Day show, which will be coming up on Sunday at 1:00 for Bucs Lions.
And the thing is we had over 6,000 people watch Pewter Game Day between our YouTube visitors or viewers, I should say, the viewers on our live stream with X and also our live stream with Facebook. So a lot of different ways you can watch Pewter Game Day. And all y'all tuned in, over 6,000 people. So that was an awesome turnout for week 1. Make sure you join the show because this is going to be a great one. And Josh Capo is going to be co-hosting with Matt this year. So that's a cool 1-2 punch right there.
Yes.
You get Matt, his investigative reporting at One Buccaneer Place, at the press conferences, the practices, in the locker room, and Josh Capo's film analysis. It's a great blend to provide a ton of context and education and information and entertainment for your Bucs game day viewing.
Yes, well said. And we interact with everybody in the chat a ton too. We put a lot of comments on the show as well when along with watching it. So it's very fun. It's very interactive and highly recommend it to everybody. Thanks to Jonas Garea for this $1.99 super chat, who says Winfield out a couple of weeks. We don't know that just yet. I mean, there is still a chance that he plays in Sunday's game against the Lions. It'll probably be more of a game time decision type of situation, but we don't know that he's going to be out a couple of weeks. If anything, listen, any given Sunday, all that type of stuff. But if anything, I'd almost rather have Winfield for Sunday's game against the Lions. And then if he is going to have to sit out because of an injury, I would rather have it against a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, who didn't look that great in his warm-up, or in his initial start, I should say. So I can't take anything for granted, but we don't know yet if Winfield's going to be out a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Thanks to Paul Bowen for this $1.99 super chat, who says, fire the cannons. I stand by my 13-4 prediction. That's
lofty.
steep prediction. But hey,
I'll
you're
tell you
off to a
what,
good start.
Paul, if they beat the Lions, your prediction is looking better than mine. Because if they can beat the Lions, that was one of these when I did my 10-7 prediction. I have this game circled as an L for Tampa Bay. Hope I'm wrong. Don't want to be right for you all's sake. But if that's the case, this team starts off 2-0. It's hard to imagine them not coming home and getting a win against the Broncos. And then who knows against the Eagles? This team could start off 4-0 if that's the case. First things first, though. Tough Lions game coming up. But, man, if they pass this test, I might have to rethink my predictions a little bit, because the only thing that might be stopping this Buccaneer team this year, if that's the case, is injuries. And if they can overcome some injuries on Sunday and get that W up there in this revenge game against the Lions, look out.
Also, I mean, if they can get this win, like you just mentioned, they may be able to really, really gain a great amount of ground on the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons obviously lost to the Steelers in their
Whoa, that's a
opener.
good point, Matt. That's a really good
They
point.
play. So look at the next two games for the Falcons. They play at the Eagles in Philly on Monday Night Football. And then they're home, but against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. So, yes, the Bucs have a very difficult game themselves coming up against the Lions. But then playing the Broncos next, there's a chance that the Falcons start out 0-3.
Yeah.
And the Bucs could start out 3-0 if they were able to upset the Lions and then take care of business against the Broncos. Yes, you still have to go the rest of the season, and the Bucs do have difficult opponents. We've talked about the gauntlet and everything like that. But a 3-game lead is a pretty damn good start, especially when you play the Falcons a couple of weeks later. And I think the Saints played the Cowboys this week, if I'm not mistaken. So everyone in the NFC South is a pretty tough matchup this week. And the Panthers are the Panthers, so every matchup is tough for them.
That's true. Well said. Listen, when I was going on my rant, I saw a lot of people that you were putting up there. And we always love our Peter people showing up on Mondays, especially for roll call, but even more so on a Victory Monday. So we're happy to have you here, Matt. And if you can, let's roll through some of those names and where they were watching and listening from.
There were a ton of people. I wish I could pick every single one. So I tried to do some local and some all over the place. So starting off with Drake Westfall saying, planting the black flag of victory in Virginia in their own Commanders territory. We love seeing that.
That's great.
A consistent commenter on the show, Bad W from Englewood. Zoyas in Asheville, North Carolina. This one's very cool. Carl Cook from Dublin, Ireland. That is great to see. Sep HTP from North Brunswick, New Jersey. Brandon Brooks out in Pensacola. Catamax from Destin, Florida. Baker's dozen wins. Hopefully that comes true this year. Watching in St. Augustine. Jacob Bluntly from Nassau, Bahamas. Rauded Yardy, Fort Pierce, Florida. I have family that has a place over in Fort Pierce, so shout out that area. Going international again, Callum Shaw, also a Pewter Report YouTube channel member from Liverpool, England. Dario Newsom from Tampa. Malcolm Hathorn from Guadalquivir, Ecuador. Hope I said that right. Probably not. Guadalquivir, Ecuador. Maybe that's it.
I think that might be closer,
Earl the Squirrel, Inverness, Nova Scotia, Canada. Very cool.
Very cool.
Sledgerin in Tampa Bay. Charles Fats from Largo. And last but not least, Les Evans from Alabama. Roll Tide. I'm sure some USF fans might not be happy about that. But nonetheless, a tremendous, fantastic job by everybody in roll call today. We had tons of people from tons of great places. So shout out to all of you, even those that we weren't able to give a specific mention to. We really appreciate it, all of you that participated, because that was great for sure.
Yeah, we're not allowed to have favorites. Okay, we are. And Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dream House, is one of those favorites. He just gifted a Pewter Report membership. We greatly appreciate that. And
Thank
this
you.
Is his comment here. He's now a member for 1 month. That means his little Pewter Report badge changes. We have every month you level up, you get a different little PR icon, which is kind of cool. Spread the love and gift some PR memberships to others. I know several have. I think Joel Elrican and Hizo have also done the same. Few of you others. Bucs will beat the Lions next week. Save this post. Bucs are on the way to 11 wins and NFC Championship appearance minimum. I like the optimism, Paul, and it's certainly full of optimism on a Victory Monday for sure. it's going to take this team getting a little bit of health. And Bobby Slater, the VP of Sports Medicine over there, the head team trainer, he's going to be working like overtime this week. He might get the unsung hero award this week if he can get some of these players back in action. And I'd love to see Kalijah Cansey back, and I'd love to see Zion McCollum. Hopefully, this is a situation where, he got his bell rung a little bit. It's a mild concussion. He passes the protocol. We won't probably know till later in the week. I think he's probably going to have to practice, Matt, on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
For Todd Bowles to feel comfortable to put him out there. But I did receive a text from Yaya Diaby today. His ankle's feeling good. He's getting treatment and staying on top of it. So even though he was out there playing for the majority of that game against the Commanders, the ankle's feeling good. So no ill effects there for Yaya Diaby in his return to action yesterday.
Yeah, Yaya did lead the outside linebackers in snap percentage in yesterday's game. And I think he'll probably even have more as the season goes on, but I'm sure they wanted to ease him in just a little bit. By the way, we have a new Pewter Report YouTube channel member, Payne Gusto, or has been a member for 1 month and is using their 1 month membership to let everyone know. He's watching from Montclair, New Jersey. So shout out to you, Payne Gusto, and your 1 month membership.
Yeah.
We also have some more super chats to get to. Thank you to CatBuck88 for this $2 super chat. Also a Pewter Report YouTube channel member who said, "So cool to see everyone chanting Bucky last night."
That really was. And that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And just in terms of he ripped off the big 31-yard run.
Yeah.
And that was cool to see. But man, and maybe it was the fact he was the Pewter Report's camp diary guy for us this year, and the fan base got to kind of know Bucky and really love him. And of course, he shined, I think, in the preseason, averaging over 4 yards a carry in all those games. But yeah, for Bucky to just, I mean, you can see the intensity in those eyes. He's the real deal, man, when it comes to running the ball. And I said in my 2-point conversion, one of my predictions, and this is not a knock on Rachaad White. This is just a observation of what Bucky Irving is doing. Wouldn't be surprised if this guy makes a run at that RB1 job and ends up getting the majority of carries at some point in time this season. Not sure if it's going to happen next week or next month or whenever, but this guy is a natural runner between the tackles. He's got the instant acceleration that Liam Cohen wants and wanted from day one. Said it in a press conference. We want our running backs to be shot out of a cannon, run to and through the hole. And this is the guy that does that. And I'm not saying Rachaad White doesn't do that, but he's not as urgent of a runner as Bucky Irving is. So it's something to keep in mind. Rachaad White does have a role in this team.
Yes.
He can still be effective. He can still get 100 yards on the ground. He's hell on wheels catching the ball, screens, and in the receiving game. This is a 1-2 punch that will make the Buccaneers better. In some weeks, it might be Rachaad getting more production, and he certainly did that in the receiving game yesterday. And other times, it might be Bucky. And you might see more days like this where Bucky gets more yards on the ground, Rachaad gets more yards in the air, and it doesn't matter if it all helps the Buccaneers win games because both these guys are selfless. And the interesting thing is, I wish we had some pictures of it, but both these guys, no more dreads. I was getting ready to call these guys the dreaded backfield of Tampa Bay, but they got haircuts. It's like
everyone's getting haircuts. Rachaad White.
Yeah,
Rachaad got a haircut. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka got a haircut recently too. So they're all adjusting to the heat. And to everything you just said about the running back, Scott, they are both going to be so important to this team, and they're going to help out in different ways. And I think the biggest difference with Rachaad and Bucky is able to go and create space for himself when he's running the football, where Rachaad needs the space. He has to have the space there in the first place. And that's why Rachaad has been so great in the passing game, particularly in the screen game, where he's able to rattle a lot of things off because he already has that open space. Because he's able, the way he kind of moves a little bit more, it hurts him when he's running. But when he's a receiver, he's able to do great things, as we saw in yesterday's game, where Bucky is just there right away. So, I do hope Bucky gets more rushing attempts, and that doesn't mean Rachaad White can't still help out on the ground.
Right.
But I mean, it's it's kind of evident already. Like there's just something different when Bucky's running the ball, and that doesn't mean that they should take away playing time from Rachaad White because he's just going to help in the passing game and with all this different stuff.
Role.
It's a different role, but it's all better for the team, and everybody's going to be able to eat like in a positive way.
Both these guys can run the ball and both can catch it, so there's no tell, there's no giveaway when one guy is in the game or the other.
I love when they're on the field at the same time. We saw a couple formations when Rachaad and Bucky were on the field together, and I hope we see more of that.
Yep. So to your point about the screen game, we saw last year how athletic Cody Mauch was. He just about beat Rachaad White to the end zone on that screen touchdown against the Titans, right? Now you've got two guys, Graham Barton and Cody Mauch, that get out there like lightning in a bottle. And it's fun to see these big offensive linemen literally race 15, 20 yards downfield. Like they're racing each other. It's like a neck and neck 40-yard dash to get down the field and find somebody to block, where that wasn't the case last year. Cody was the athletic guy that kind of got downfield. Now you've got two interior offensive linemen that release on those screens and just pave the way for Rachaad or Bucky. So that's really fun to see. Almost as fun as going to Walk-Ons on Mondays. Why? Because it's happy hour from 3 p.m. to close. That's right. Happy hour doesn't just end at 6 o'clock. Not on Mondays. Nope. You can go watch Monday Night Football at Walk-Ons and enjoy those happy hour prices on food and drink all night long. $3 happy hour pours, $3.99 domestic pints, $4 house wines, $5.49 22-ounce domestic drafts, $6 fried pickles, $7 boom boom shrimp, queso dip, and $8 boneless wings and cheeseburger sliders. And if you can't make it to Walk-Ons tonight, let's say you're getting ready to have dinner right now and you already have the table set, that's fine. Go to Walk-Ons tomorrow. Why? Because it's happy hour all day long from open to close, including $5 Tito's. So Walk-Ons is the place to go when it comes to food and football. On game days, it's the place to be. Saturdays and Sundays, they've got drink specials, Michelob Ultra, Bud Light, and Miller Lite, $4.49 pints or $5.99 22-ounce pours, Heineken Silver 12-ounce cans, and $5 neutrals, assorted flavors. Make Walk-Ons your destination for football, food, and drinks, and fun. 3 locations to serve you in the Tampa Bay area. Wesley Chapel Lutz across from the Outlet Mall up in my neck of the woods, or down by Matt at the Midtown Tampa location, kind of by the stadium, or over in Lakeland. 3 locations in the Tampa Bay area. Find out more on walkons.com.
Yeah, shout out to Walk-Ons. Tons of TVs. I was there on Friday during happy hour. So, enjoying it there. It's perfect for like a college football Saturday when there's 1,000 games on.
I was there on Saturday watching my Wildcats.
Yeah, exactly. So, so shout out to Walk-Ons. Great establishment, and already looking forward to going there again.
Yeah. A couple more super chats.
Payne Gusto. Payne Gusto with a actually, I think we skipped over Randy Douglas. We'll get back to you, Payne Gusto. Yep. Thank you, Randy Douglas, for this $6.99 Canadian super chat. It says, if you break down the quality of the offense and defense for both teams going head-to-head, how do you view the game? Was final score indicative? Where can we improve?
You know, it's funny. I'm not always right. Matter of fact, I might be more wrong than right sometimes. But in our Pewter pregame show, which also had great numbers, we did about 5,000 people watching the Pewter pregame show at
9 a.m. in the morning.
9 a.m. Yeah. And if you missed it live, you missed the fun. But you could have caught the archived broadcast later in the day prior to kickoff. So make sure you do that. It's all at Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. But on that show, what did I say, Matt? I said we were talking about those matchups: Bucs interior offensive line versus versus the Washington Commanders defensive tackles. And I said I wouldn't be surprised if the defensive tackles of Washington win the first half, but then the Bucs interior offensive line is able to establish the run and wins the second half. And that's kind of how it played out. You saw Graham Barton and Ben Bredesen and Cody Mauch kind of come together and rip off some more of those bigger runs, getting those running lanes going for Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. So I like the fact that Tampa Bay got better as the game went on both sides of the trenches. Both of those sacks of Jaden Daniels came in the second half. It's where he was more contained, more pressured, and I think that's a good sign. You saw scoring by Tampa Bay in all 4 quarters, but they scored 24 points in the second half and really poured it on.
They got stronger as it went on, which is a good sign of a team. And you know what? I think a little bit of home field advantage happened there where the Bucs have been training here in Tampa
Yeah,
day in and day
I
out.
agree.
And I think it wore down the Washington Commanders towards the end. And that's why you saw Bucky, who was pretty fresh at that point. You know, he was all about the second half more than he was the first half. So you had a fresh Bucky Irving coming in and just, annihilating the Commanders, getting to that second and third level. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, there's still plenty of room to grow with the Bucs offensive line. I think in obviously run blocking, but in pass blocking too. I I understand the whole notion of like, well, they only played so many like preseason snaps and all that stuff.
yeah,
But I would also argue you could say that about like almost every other team around the league as well.
right.
But nonetheless, there is that, syncing up, the continuity, all that stuff that needs to get done. I think a great sign, and this kind of plays into Payne Gusto. Thank you for the
Yeah,
$2 super chat. Who says a salute to our young Bucks, the rookies, for shining. I think it's a great sign that Graham Barton did really well in his first appearance. Didn't look too overwhelmed despite playing against two great defensive tackles. Chris Braswell, while maybe didn't have the brightest of games or shine the brightest, he still played over 40% of the
yeah,
defensive snaps and very much was in the rotation along the outside linebacker. So that's
yeah.
important moving forward. Jalen
Matt,
McMillan scored a touchdown. Yeah.
I got some breaking news here, and it's not good,
Is it
but
Jordan Schultz? Is it Jordan Schultz?
It is, yeah. And he's not always right. I'm trying to get it confirmed right now. But as it stands right now, Jordan Schultz is reporting that Antoine Winfield Jr. does have a foot, an ankle sprain, and he is expected to miss a couple of weeks. So he would not be available according to Jordan Schultz right now. Again, I'm trying to work to confirm that. But as it stands right now, it looks like he's not going to be available for at least the Detroit Lions game. And what does that mean? Well, Todd Bowles said today that Christian Izien is going to be the guy that's going to be getting the start if he's not able to go. And so I think we're going to see Christian Izien, who played really well, had a forced fumble, actually had a pass breakup on third down, playing at outside corner. And we saw Christian Izien do a lot of cross training when it was pretty apparent that Tyke Smith was going to be the starting nickel. That's when we saw Christian Izien start taking a lot more snaps at the free safety position. Kayvon Merriweather's the backup, a strong safety behind Jordan Whitehead, and Christian Izien, who, you know what, and it's probably a little bit of a blessing in disguise for the Buccaneers that Izien was able to get on the field and play some defense and kind of see some live bullets out there on Sunday, even in this emergency capacity. Yeah, knock some rust off. So it wasn't a cornerback, or it wasn't a safety, though. It was a cornerback, but still, he's a football player, and he's going to be the starting safety alongside Jordan Whitehead if this report from Jordan Schultz is correct. And he's more right than wrong. We all have some hits and we all have some misses, but he wouldn't report this if he didn't have it from a source, a well-placed source. So that's not great news for the Buccaneers.
No, I mean, that's the last player that you want to lose for the Bucs with Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, just what he does that allows Todd Bowles to call so many different things just based on his versatility, that gets taken away with Winfield not in the game anymore. But for Christian Izien, I mean, he tweeted after the game, "I'm a football player," kind of showing that like he'll play all over. Yeah. I think he took it to heart and was kind of pissed off when Tyke Smith took his job as the nickel corner.
Yeah.
Izien is an all heart and hustle guy. Obviously, the size isn't ideal for him, but I mean, he's going to give it everything. So sure, there's no replacing Antoine Winfield Jr., but it's not the worst replacement having Christian Izien in there. And who knows? Maybe he'll make another play like he did in last week's game. So don't count out Christian Izien just yet. Nobody's Antoine Winfield Jr. Let's keep that in mind. And true. Todd Bowles isn't going to ask him to be Antoine Winfield Jr. Anyway, let's get back to these super chats as we wind down the show. Thank you to Ryan S. 1997 for this €4.99, who says, as per Greg Oman's latest tweet, the injury crisis is getting real. So if you want to steal in a cheap one-year prove-it deal, Call Ryan Neal.
Well, the Bucs are playing the Lions and Jameson Williams. We know how that turned out last year in Week 6, so probably not going to call Ryan Neal. But I love the rhyme. So that's pretty good. Let's get to another super chat here. Paul, A.K. Florida Dreamhouse. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for this $5 super chat. Paul, a.k.a. Florida Dreamhouse, says, with our defense getting beat up, it's a good thing it looks like our offense is stacked. We may have to win on offense only for a few games. That's entirely true. And you know what? The NFL is an offensive league now. I understand defense is still important, but that's why you re-signed Baker and re-signed Mike and drafted Bucky and Jalen McMillan. So, this game's going to be all about the offense on Sunday.
The Bucs were in a couple shootouts last year. Of course, they lost the one in Houston. They should have won because they came back at the very end. Cade Otton had a touchdown. That was the go-ahead score. Less than a minute left. Carlton Davis decided to play like a rookie and give up his third touchdown of the day. And it'll be interesting to see Carlton Davis going up against Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan on the outside. And we'll talk more about that on Wednesday, as he is now a Detroit Lion. But for the Buccaneers' sake, they were in another shootout against Atlanta. It was a high 20s, I think 27-24, something like that was the final score, 29-27. Cade Otton did score the game-winning touchdown there, and the Bucs defense held on. So they've got some experience in a kind of back-and-forth, high-scoring game. I think they were 1-1 last year in those games, so we'll see how it pans out. But they have the firepower to get the job done, and we'll see if they can pull it off.
To the point of Hezo813, thanks for the $5 super chat, says, this is the one season we can afford a couple of big injuries on defense for a while. This offense with Cohen at the helm is no joke. I think Liam Cohen is going to design many different things this week against Detroit that we didn't see against Washington, because the Bucs are going to have to win in a different way. They cannot get into a shootout with the Lions, in my opinion, at least for the whole time, because I don't think the Bucs defense will hold up. As great as the Bucs offense was in Week 1, I just don't see them scoring every single time. The Lions have some good players on defense too. So, we'll see what Baker and company can do.
Josh says, what are the chances Zion clears concussion protocol? We'll know later in the week. We just don't know right now. It's less than 24 hours since the end of the game, and he's got to go through the protocols. So Tampa Bay, there's no way of knowing today or tomorrow or even Thursday, maybe by Thursday. They'll see if he can pass some tests, but it's not going to probably be until at least Thursday before we know either way. Joseph says, thank you for the gifted membership. Go Bucs. Yeah, we appreciate that. And if you want to become a Pewter Report TV channel member, you can do that. It's really easy. All you have to do is go to the front page of Pewter Report TV, click the join button. You'll see all of the membership details, which we'll put up for a second, but you can check it out at your leisure. We have the Pewter People membership for $3.99 and different other membership levels, $6.99, $9.99, and $24.99 for our Pewter Platinum members. Matt and I do this cool thing called Pewter Insider every Friday at 1:30. It's an extra bonus podcast where we take your questions from the Pewter Premier and Pewter Platinum members and get them answered for you. You're also welcome, if you're one of those members, to join our live show exclusively and interact and give us your thoughts, opinions, and ask questions. It's a fun show. We started doing it just a couple weeks ago in the preseason, and we'll continue it all the way through year round. So it's something we'll also do in the offseason with the draft and all that. So please consider joining the masses and becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member. And we talked about this before. Pewter Game Day and Pewter Pregame. New times for the Pewter Pregame show. It's going to be every game day at 9 a.m. And, of course, that means this Sunday at 9 a.m. Pewter Pregame. Bucs Lions, 9:15. I'm sorry, 9 o'clock on September 15th. So make sure you check that out on Pewter Report TV. It's also streamed on X and Facebook on our channels there. And Pewter Game Day at 1 o'clock. We'll get right at it at the Detroit Lions house and see if Tampa Bay can rally and beat the Buccaneers. And folks, if you're looking for Pewter Report's app, well, we don't have one, but we do have Autograph, which is co-founded by Tom Brady, legendary Bucs quarterback who apparently also played for the Patriots. Didn't know that, but he helped win a Super Bowl here in Tampa. That's where you can read all of the Pewter Report news as well as watching the Pewter Report podcast videos. And the cool thing is you're going to get rewarded for doing so. You earn points with every story you read, whether it's our stories or somebody else's, whether it's college or pro or any other sports. You accumulate points that you can turn into tickets or you can turn into merchandise. It's all part of the Autograph Phantom Rewarded app. It's free to use and free to download. All you have to do is, if you're an Apple user, go to the Apple Store and download Autograph Phantom Rewarded. And when you do, please sign up with promo code Pewter. That lets them know that we are the ones who sent them to you, or sent you to them, I should say.
Yeah.
If you're an Android user, make sure you go to Google Play and download it. And again, get rewarded in one free app. Read the Pewter Report news, watch Pewter Report videos, and get rewarded at Autograph. And make sure you use promo code Pewter to sign up.
All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Please make sure, if you're not already doing so, follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report. And, of course, our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we have all different types of content that we've told you about on today's show. So please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video below. And just a scheduling reminder for everybody, since we are in the regular season now. Typically, this is for a majority of it when the Bucs play on Sunday.
Right.
We do shows on Monday, no show on Tuesday because the Bucs are off, and then we do a show on Wednesday and Thursday, and then the post-game show whenever the Bucs game is done on Sunday. So that's typically our schedule in season. It changes at times. The Bucs have a Thursday game or a Monday game, but that is how it's going to go. So we have the show today, no show tomorrow, and then we'll have one on Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Of course, Wednesday's show, we will be previewing Bucs versus Lions as we have a little more of an idea of who might be available and how the Bucs are going to approach heading back to Detroit and playing against the Lions. So that's going to do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.